much will the offense change at all? Is the secondary going to be okay? These are some Trevon Diggs topics we need your answers to on the truckwreck.com text line, 877-881-1053. But first, Stephen Jones on the air in San Antonio. How did this injury yesterday happen?
It's unfortunately how these things can happen. I mean, he just took an awkward step trying to make a play on a ball, and unfortunately it torqued the wrong way and got his knee, not unlike Overshown in the Seattle game. I mean, it didn't look like much, but when those steps get awkward, unfortunately, sometimes these ligaments don't hold up.
So that's how it happened. Kind of compared it to the Overshown injury. What did you make of Mike McCarthy's response to the way practice is conducted within the season? For those Tolos saying, what are we doing out there? Why are we going hard 100 miles per hour in regular season practices on a Thursday before a game?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still talking about you got to stay current. You got to do all that. The basketball teams will still you'll have your walkthroughs. I'm sorry, your shoot arounds, but you'll still have you'll still run a few if you can get practice time in. Baseball, they don't really do it. Once the season starts, it's BP and that's it. Now, I was told, Banny did tell me, that
wear a medium T-shirt,
right? They would do PFP, pitcher fielding practice. They would do that every couple of series before, they would do it every couple of series. So that's just making sure that situationally, what you're doing, you're still current and stuff, because it may not happen every game. It does usually, actually, but this, I mean, you can't bubble wrap these guys. You got to practice a little bit, and you only get how many 13 padded practices a year now?
Yeah, it's very little.
13,
right? There's nothing after December.
Yeah, it's very little padded work. It's just the reality of the new CBA and everything else that's been collectively bargained. But to me, it's when you're talking about why are we going hard on a Thursday practice, it's like saying, similarly to me, and maybe this is a bad analogy, Mike Bassick, if you're up listening, you can correct this. But to me, it sounds similar to like, why do we have our pitchers throwing bullpen sessions? Why is our starter getting hurt throwing a bullpen session?
Yeah.
Because this is the reality of how you prepare during the week. Mm-hmm. And like I said, if it was in red zone drills specifically, like Mike McCarthy was just talking about, red zone is very much a one-on-one game situation. So, yeah, you do kind of need one-on-one reps for practice in red zone.
Absolutely. How do you prepare for a game without practicing?
Imagine if we heard that they don't practice during the week.
Yeah.
Only walkthroughs, and then they go out and lose by 20 to Arizona. This town would blow up.
Of course it would.
It would detonate.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine any team in any sport not having any practice time. Whether it be batting practice, whether it be on a Wednesday an install, whether it be shooter, nothing. They do nothing once the season starts.
It is kind of crazy though. Once the regular season starts, I eliminate and erase any possibility of injuries out of my mind, and I feel like they never happen after the regular season starts. It's like first day of training camp, during camp with some teams, but in my mind mentally, it goes to they don't even basically practice during the week, but they do.
Yeah, and
Kelsey got hurt right before week one. Kelsey got hurt before week one in practice.
Well, that's the thing. How much do we have to react to as well in training camp? There's no we don't care about the preseason games nearly as much. So it's we're not distracted by actual game week stuff. So all we have to look for is what's the latest injury? Who got banged up at practice today? Who did this or that? And so it's easy to put it out of your mind.
Stephen Jones on 94.1. Now what?
And your heart goes out to Trevon. He's put so much work into having a great year. He got a new contract, and he responded by being, I think, statistically one of the best corners in the league. But I do think we got, good men on this roster who can step up and play. I mean, we were actually smiling in a good way last week when we were talking about how we're going to get Jordan Lewis reps. There he is, certainly established nickel corner in this league who's really, really good. And now we'll have him, and we'll kick Bland out like we did last year. And I think Bland ended up with 5 or 6 interceptions last year. So I think we're in a good spot.
And for those just tuning in, like Tolo Trey, you're supposed to be having it on since 6 a.m. Not right now. The question is, did it happen on grass or turf? Bobby Belt is here to answer out there at the Star.
Grass. It was a grass injury.
So explain the 3 field setup and what they are.
So it's actually, they've got the Ford Center inside, and then they've got the 2 outside fields there where they practice. And that's actually why McCarthy has them outside so much, I think, is also because he doesn't want them just taking a beating on turf the whole time.
So there used to be 1 grass, 1 turf. I thought they got rid of 1. Did they get rid of 1? Or
No. I mean, they recovered the outdoor field, but
okay.
No, that was they practice outdoors on grass, and he's
So the 2 outside ones are grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were outside yesterday.
They were outside. He got hurt on grass.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Both outside. I knew they had 1 turf and 1 grass. They made them both grass.
No, it's grass out there.
Nice.
And so he's he got hurt on the grass one. It was during the outdoor stuff, and that's why they practice outdoors on grass as often as they can. Is just because it's
Because what?
because of just in general, it is something where they take a bit of a beating.
Continue.
Yeah, continue.
I look, okay.
Does Jerry know this?
All right.
We're not attacking
we'll
you.
Go ahead and pull this up.
We're
Hold
not
on.
attacking you, Dip.
Hold
We're
on.
making a point to Jerry.
Hold on.
Yeah,
We're gonna
give us the stats that the NFL uses that's fraudulent.
So, like, they're having them practice outside as much as possible. 2 grass fields.
Yeah, 2.
Why not make them all turf?
Want to make them all turf?
Well,
I
you
don't
get
know.
used to your home field
show
advantage.
Us your
Injuries-
information, Fauci. What do you got?
Injuries per game by stadium. This was just put out by the 33rd. This was the 33rd team in Sports Info Solutions yesterday. Injuries per game by stadium, 2017 to 2022. Allegiant Stadium, grass field, and Power Field at Mile High, grass field. The 2 highest rates of injuries in stadiums are grass fields.
Okay, are they soft tissue? What are they?
Here's
are
what's
they ligaments? I'm worried about. I'm asking about.
Here's what's
the
amazing.
tendon ligament injuries.
Lower leg injuries per game across all fields over the last 5 years. Turf 2.39 per game, grass 2.35 per game.
Okay, again, muscle pulls, yes, absolutely on grass.
Non-contact injuries 0.84 on grass, 0.81 on turf.
Again, how many ligament damage issues on turf versus grass? That's what I want. I don't care about the raw numbers of, like a hamstring and an ACL is not the same thing. And one maybe, I don't know the answer to this. I'm just asking. Like one may be more prevalent on turf versus grass.
It's amazing to me that Bobby, who I thought was pro player with all of his connections, is a scab and taking the
scab.
He's taking he crossed the line, is taking the owner's side.
Bill Maher over here.
So basically, you're saying that the players' opinions on it, they are overrated.
No, I'm just saying that
what the players don't know what they're talking about compared to the numbers. What the owners are saying and the stats that you just read outweigh everything that the players have been saying. I want you to agree to that.
That's not what I'm
why
saying.
Why is that not true?
Because I think it's a.
Why are you not saying that?
I'm answering because I think what you're talking about is players talk about how they feel on it, how it makes them feel versus, and that absolutely can be the truth. That is, if they feel worse on it in general, their bodies feel more beat up. That's a difference between that and like what is it actually doing to ligaments and injuries and different things like that. The actual data on it that we can see here does not say that it's that much worse, but I can definitely understand them saying we feel worse on it, and that has its toll too. I think both things can be true.
So if a player came in here and we said you have no greater chance of tearing your knee up on a turf field, you would feel comfortable telling them that?
I would show them just this graph that says it.
Okay. I just wanted to get that on the record for all the players and people you deal with. Yep. 877-881-1053, truckwreck.com text line. Market, pay. And I wasn't cutting you off. I was rephrasing my question because I didn't ask it right the first time. RJ Choppy, research project on the Diggs secondary effect.
Okay. I went and looked to see how this would impact this team. And now generally the prevailing thought is one player is not going to change a whole lot. But one of the things that we noticed is that in the secondary, as you lose one player on the defensive line, whatever, you still have your game wrecker, Micah Parsons. He changes a lot of things. The secondary is the ultimate weak link unit, right? Like your number one edge rusher is more important than your number one corner, but your number 4 corner is more important than your 3rd or 4th edge rusher.
Okay.
Because they can just pick on it. And I went back and looked, and I was like, all right. And I looked at last year, the Cowboys defense after Anthony Brown went down. Not nearly the player that Diggs is.
No. And he's in San Fran now, I believe.
He was released yesterday.
He was released. Okay.
Yep.
So, and then he had a concussion last year in the Packer game, and that was a game. So I left the Packer game out, and I left the Colts game out because he got hurt in both of them.
It's when Burnt Man Toast came in.
In the Packer game?
Yep. And got lit up by Aaron Rodgers in the second half.
Right.
Has he played in Miami, by the way?
I don't know. I mean, it like played in terms of like in the studio, in the lab, like dropping a new
in the lab
with a pen and a pad. I mean, I don't know.
So
let's see what his snap count is.
So he leaves the Packer game. They had a 14-point lead. Now he left with not a 14-point lead. They got a 14-point lead after he had already gone out. Then they blew it. They gave it up. And I took the Colts game as well. That's where he got hurt with the Achilles injury. So I took the 9 games that he started. The 10 games that he started. No, the 9 games he started.
Lord.
Yeah, I know. The 9 games he started and finished, minus Green Bay and Indy, and the 6 that he did not play in fully. All right, so there's your 17 games. In the 9 games he started and finished, they allowed just over 15.5 points a game. In the 6 games without him, they allowed 27. That's one player. That's your third corner. This is your first corner. I mean, if you want to argue he's your second because you like Gilmore better,
right?
The point is made. It's not about losing Diggs. It wasn't about losing Anthony Brown. It's who you replace the third guy with. Because now you don't have your third guy's not Bland anymore. Or Lewis. You're replacing them, and now you got your fourth guy. It continues to go down the list. And that's the problem. That's the guy that gets targeted. It's not the loss. It wasn't Anthony Brown that was so good. It's that his replacement sucked even worse. And it's not that Diggs is Deion Sanders. It's that Gilmore replaces him, and then Bland replaces him, and then Lewis replaces. Well, who replaces Lewis? Like, that's the problem.
So the only difference here, I would say, is Anthony Brown was your number 2 corner there when he got hurt last year. And the guy that immediately had to replace him was traded at the end of training camp here. And Brown, if he was on the roster this year, would have been the 5th corner. And because Jordan Lewis was hurt by week 7 last year. And so Lewis got hurt in week 7, didn't play the rest of the year. And Lewis is a nickel specific guy. Bland is nickel. So that's 2 corners there. And it would have been Diggs and Gilmore. So that's 4. And Brown would have been 5. So I just think they're deeper this year is the bigger thing, is that you talked about they were incredibly weak. They were throwing out Xavier Rhodes. They were signing him off the street, trying to throw him into a playoff game last year. Yeah. They were just in a bad spot. I think they can weather this a little bit better now. Now, if they have one more injury to the corner group, they're in trouble.
They're in trouble. Now, listen, easily, the first game is going to be, it's always tough with a replacement, but you're getting a great opponent for that first game. Josh Dobbs is not going to challenge you downfield all that often. Real quick, yards per attempt with 5.97, without 7.84.
Yeah.
So, it was bad last year once they lost Anthony Brown. And again, they didn't lose Darryl Green.
Right.
They lost Anthony Brown. But you know what I mean? So, and I think that, yes, they are deeper a little bit this year, no doubt. Still, it's a depth issue.
And then you were trying to think of other local injury impact similar to this?
I left the quarterbacks out. Obviously when Dak gets hurt or when Romo got hurt, he came in here the next day.
Yeah, you don't miss a beat with Cooper Rush.
Absolutely.
Cooper Troopers.
Sean Lee tore his ACL. Was it in a mini camp? OTA?
Pick one.
It was at
anyone. Pick one.
Pick any injury. Even the Dez injury didn't feel like that. This had Jake DeGrom vibes when he left. When he left the mound, because I think a lot of people knew when he left the mound the second time. Right? It was the Yankees and the White Sox or something like that. Royals. Yeah. When he left the mound that second time he left it.
Night.
We all had that. Crap.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
That's interesting.
The injury I thought of immediately, and not to say that they're parallel in terms of how good they are at what they do, but in terms of what they meant to the team, the injury I thought of first was Caron Butler getting lost for the season the year the Mavericks won the title. And Butler was like the number 2, the number 3 on that team, probably. He was number 2, probably ahead of Jason Terry. And he was having a great season. He got hurt 27 games into that year.
Butler, and New Year's Day.
Caron Butler got hurt, and they ended up, they won the title that year. Not to say that, so see there, the Cowboys can do it. It's a different sport, obviously, but DFW injuries, that was the one that I thought of just like a big one that still had a positive outcome.